documents regarding this, even though it was late. Mind you, this is the same issue that happened during the airline which we spoke about yesterday or so, which gave the permission, or which sought to give the permission to MPs, judges and others to use the sirens. The document was not made available to them. It's been 48 hours. The minority has been raising a lot of red flags because of the sensitive nature of this whole issue. You would recall, I think about 3 months ago, the residents of Ewoya and then also part of the Winneba or the Efutu enclave went on a demonstration on the issue of their forests being subjected to the mining of lithium. The central region has become known for this because of the assumed large deposit of the mineral resource. But documents, we understand, have not been made available to the MPs. And yesterday, the Minority Chief Whip, Kwame Govins-Agboja, was raising issue on this again. And if it is that after 48 hours, MPs do not have the document, my issue is, why then was the government in a rush to have this particular agreement laid? This is a paper that has been
because
laid.
They should have read it, understood it, and then come to make their inputs. Maybe let the committees know what they think, friend of the committee, members of the committee, and all of that, right?
One of the rules with laying of document is that sufficient copies must be made available to members. The speaker admitted that
there are pigeonholes for every one of them.
Yes, but lately they distribute it on the floor. The speaker's own words was that he has seen sufficient copies. These were the words of the speaker. He, as a speaker,
enough to go around.
Enough. But as we speak, my understanding, I just made a cross-check just about some 30 minutes ago. My understanding is that still the MPs do not have copies of this whole lithium agreement, and that is a worrying trend, noting which comes on the back of the demonstrations, the issue about why it has to be a forest reserve. Because as we speak, correspondence that we have sent to the area tell us that some work is going on. I'm not too sure whether it's exploration. I'm not too sure whether it is mining. We cannot tell. But the company which has been which got this award, or which got the contract, they are already on the field doing some work. And so it beats my imagination why then the document will not be given to members who are on the committee, even if not members of the committee, even members of the leadership. And yesterday on the floor, admittedly, you could see that even leadership of both sides do not have the document, and that's quite surprising.
But how then? Again, back to your question: why then was the minister in a hurry to lay this? I mean, because that would have been unfair to all of us, to have our representatives being kept in the dark.
That's right.
All right. They do not have the documents. They don't know how much we are committing, what we are letting off, what we are getting in return, because we've been complaining about how much we get from our oil, right?
Yeah.
And our gold. So I want to understand. Did anybody ask that question to the minister?
Yeah.
Why the speed?
The minister himself.
And the rush?
Yeah, the minister himself. And the thing about laying of papers is that, I mean, if it's late, the minister, may not necessarily speak to it. In some instances, because of enough information that they would require, the minister can give some explanation that it is for this and this and this reason why they're doing it. But lately, the minority has realized a trend where a specific paper is supposed to be laid, being sponsored by a ministry, or the ministry has a stake in it, let's say the lithium agreement, and they would ask, let's say, the minister for parliamentary affairs, so say HMS to lay it on behalf of him. Deputy ministers are not supposed to lay papers on behalf,
because they appear before Parliament.
Absolutely, they cannot have that appearance to defend it. And it happens to be the trend in recent time, which the minority has raised issues about. And for me, I think it's beyond the minority.
Is it because the minority wants to have the big fishes address them and not the small fishes?
I mean, they're just playing by the rules. It's not necessarily about the big fishes, because if policy issues come, the deputies may not have that enough information to be able to speak to, because I mean, if you look at the trend where they come, okay, well, my boss is not around, I'm unable to speak to, because if you do not know, Parliament is a house of records. If you commit yourself, you say something that is not true, and later on is found out, you could be hauled for contempt, and you would go to the appropriate committee that will deal with you. Yes, and so this is the trend, and I personally think that it's a worrying thing, and I don't know why it's become. I mean, the former majority leader yesterday in speaking made the point that yes, they will have to really look at the modalities, but the availability of ministers coming before the House to lay their own papers is one of the subjects that has become a thorny one. And I mean, looking at it, and also looking at the fact that the lessons to be learned from the laying of the motor traffic LI, it was the deputy who was there at the time. Hassan Tampuli was the one who was there. The minister himself was not there to lay the paper. And so questions may not have been asked him. But here we are again, we are coming back virtually to the same line. It's a worrying trend. But, well, we are yet to see.
What was the Speaker's position yesterday, knowing that the MPs did not have copies of the bill, right? And then government was in a hurry. What were his directions?
Well, unfortunately, the Speaker himself got off the seat, and for the first time, the eldest or the senior most MP at the time, Cletus Avoka, had to assume the seat for just a couple of, just about an hour or so. And virtually yesterday was on the Democracy Cup. They had a lot of talk about it, why it was important. Yes, 30 years of parliamentary democracy, you know, the pros and cons. I mean, a lot of talk was had on this, but he did not actually make a definite statement on this, except to agree that yes, of course, MPs need to have sufficient copies. Whether you are a member of the committee or not,
does
you must have a copy.
The Speaker himself, does he have a copy?
Well, to the effect that the Speaker made the bold statement that he has seen. Well, we are yet to tell.
Seeing is one
the
thing.
last time
The
last time he saw, few days after we
realized
saw
that
what happened,
he hadn't seen.
Well, he hadn't seen at all. So we are unable to tell whether indeed. But he made a statement that yes, of course, sufficient copies he has said. The sufficient copies is still on its way to the hands of these MPs, and I think that is also very bad. It is when the MPs have it that we, even as a media, will be able to have copies of it.
That's right.
To peruse it and ask relevant issues. As we speak now, there's nothing to ask except to talk about the fact that lithium is not good, lithium is this, and the people are going on the demonstration, blah, 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 and all of that. That is where we are now.
Well, the Honorable John Jinapo is joining us on the phone line. He's a ranking member of the Mines Committee in Parliament. He's the MP for Yape Kasogu. JJ, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, and thank you, my brother.
Do you have a copy of this agreement we're talking about? Everybody's talking about. Do you have it?
Not yet. Not yet. They just announced that they've laid it. We've asked for the contract itself to study. As I speak to you, I haven't laid hands on the agreement yet.
But if you MPs who represent us do not have it, then why the rush?
There's no rush at all. And we've stated that, one, we're not going to rush it. Two, as it stands, we do not support this agreement. The briefing we've had indicates that the agreement is not in the interest of Ghana. And so, as far as I'm concerned, unless I receive counter instructions from the minority leader, the NDC minority is not in support of this lithium agreement.
I see.
And let me make that abundantly clear.
Well, now, some will say you are enemies of progress because this is going to earn us some money. And you say you disagree with something that is now seen as a precious mineral that we can actually make some money from. What do you say to that?
Like you rightly said, it's precious mineral. It's a new order, and we believe that the state must lead the whole process. That is why they claim they were forming GIADEC. And so when you listen to the briefing from government sources, from the minister, when you look at our interest and the structure based on the briefing, we do not think that it goes to the benefit of Ghana. We must take our time, open the bid process, make it competitive, align it with the railway infrastructure, align it with our long-term developmental objective, and ensure that Ghana gets the best out of what you yourself describe as a precious mineral. We cannot follow the old route with gold. We have followed that route, and it's proven that it hasn't helped this country. You go to Takwa, you go to Obuasi, you go to all the traditional gold mining towns, they don't feel the benefit of that mineral. And so with this new mineral, we must ensure that we put in place the right framework, the right infrastructure, the legislative framework to ensure that Ghana benefits from it. And so we would not allow it to be rushed through. Trust me on that. We will do everything we can to ensure that we serve the interests of this country.
We have just a few months to the close of Parliament, or if you like, for you to rise, and then for this administration to wrap up its work. We go for an election, and then whoever wins continues. Should we stagger this and wait for a fresh government to come and handle this, or should we start the process now and linger it until that time?
First of all, I can tell you that I see government's attempt to rush through the process. We're supposed to rise around 2nd of August. And I'll tell you, once we rise this August, we'll move into the next year campaign, and the government will virtually be in abeyance. And so I do not even see why government is attempting to rush it. I rather think that even if they are to start anything, it should be stakeholder engagement. Consult Parliament, consult academia, consult the media, civil society. Let's determine the actual bauxite and lithium deposits. Let's determine the minerals there. Let's find out how do we even proceed. Let's study best practices in other countries. When we get all that right, then we can develop a blueprint or a framework for going forward before we even think of how to mine this mineral. So it's a whole long process, but unfortunately, there's an attempt to short-circuit it. And as far as we are concerned, we wouldn't support this.
If you say you're looking for the best for Ghana, the ordinary Ghanaian will ask, what exactly are you looking for? What percentage points are you looking for in the interest of Ghana vis-a-vis the agreement and those who are also going to use their resources to dig whatever precious mineral we have? What are we looking at?
So the first option is not even what Ghana as a state takes, but what indigenous Ghanaians, and that has been President Mohammed's focus. If there's a credible person like Johnny, there's a credible person like Kofi, let's give them the first right of refusal. If they intend to partner with a foreign partner, maybe because of technical capacity, then you'll be doing value addition. Also, the value chain itself, not just the lithium. Can we process it here? Can we add value? Can we ensure that there's beneficial retainership here so that it creates more jobs? And that is what we are looking at. So when we say Ghana should benefit, it's not just government or the state Ghana, but indigenous Ghanaians, Ghanaian companies, value chain addition, transportation, and all those related issues that comes with exploration and mining of lithium.
And this position, you say, has been made very clear in Parliament and to the government.
Clear. I held a press conference. Fortunately, your media house has a wide outreach.
Right.
So let me put it out in unequivocal terms. That as a stand, in this agreement, in the state and form which they are presenting it to Ghana, we are vehemently opposed to it.
JJ, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
That's the Honorable John Jinapor. He is the Member of Parliament for Yape Kasogu. He's also the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. So now we know they are opposed.
Yeah.
Listen to the report. There's a report that was put together from Parliament. Listen.
Trouble these days for laying things we haven't seen. We have cautioned a number of times since last week that we want to be sure that items being laid in this house comply with the standing orders in terms of sufficient copies are made available and given to members. We had a difficult time laying the agreements on lithium and bauxite. Mr. Speaker, when it was finally laid, till today, nobody has seen a copy. They will wait until a time that they will quickly say that, oh, time is passing, let's agree. Then they send the document to committees. Mr. Speaker, once again, everything that have been laid last week and this week, if the side opposite will make sure that members are given copies of what have been laid, so we don't wake up and get surprises in the media as to what have been laid and what has not been laid. It is very important. It is not our side that is supposed to make those documents available to members.
Is it the burden of the sponsoring authority or minister to submit sufficient quantities, or is it for us, the table office, to reproduce? That we have not as of yet determined that. So the responsibility will not be placed on the class active when the orders provide that as soon as sufficient copies are available in their office. Who makes it available? Is it the office of the clerk? The press, our own press is here to do these things. So is the burden on them, or is the burden on the sponsoring authority to submit it to us? I think we should be very clear in our mind so that we don't apportion blame.
Parliament is getting into trouble these days for laying things we haven't seen. We have cautioned a number of times this last week that we want to be sure that items being laid in this house comply with the standing orders in terms of sufficient copies are made available and given to members. We had a difficult time laying the agreements on lithium and bauxite. Mr. Speaker, when it was finally laid, till today, nobody has seen a copy. They will wait until a time that they will quickly say that, oh, time is passing, let's agree. Then they send the document to committees. Mr. Speaker, once again, everything that have been laid last week and this week, if the side opposite will make sure that members are given copies of what have been laid, so we don't wake up and get surprises in the media as to what have been laid and what has not been laid. It is very important. It is not our side that is supposed to make those documents available to members.
Is it the burden of the sponsoring authority or minister to submit sufficient quantities, or is it for us, the table office, to reproduce? That we have not as of yet determined that. So the responsibility will not be placed on the class active when the orders provide that as soon as sufficient copies are available in their office. Who makes it available? Is it the office of the clerk? The press, our own press is here to do these things. So is the burden on them, or is the burden on the sponsoring authority to submit it to us? I think we should be very clear in our mind so that we don't apportion blame.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
Check your time is 8:34, and we're moving on with the conversation. George Echo Chestnut Quaining, who had his birthday yesterday, is out there in the community where all this controversy started from. Earlier, they had kicked against any attempt by government and officialdom to mine this lithium, as it were. Well, now the agreement has been laid before Parliament. Members of Parliament are asking for the document. The minority has said they fully reject it and will not rush into it. But what do the community think? What are they saying and how are they reacting? George, good morning.
Good morning, Johnny. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Where are you now?
So I'm currently in Awoya, and Awoya is the catchment area where the mining will take place if the agreement goes through. And the other catchment areas like Mampakrum, I think there's 6 of them, but Awoya is actually where the mineral is.
And how are they receiving this latest news that what they are kicking against, or what they kicked against, is now in Parliament, has been laid, and conversations have started? Officialdom is making progress. What do they say?
Yes. So, Johnny, for them, they feel it's actually like they're going to be shortchanged. That's what it is, considering the fact that if they look at other mining towns like Obuasi and all that, there's not really development there does not really resonate with the mining there. So for them, if they compare that to what they'll be going through, it will virtually be like they've been shortchanged, and proper procedures. What's the name? Government and all the stakeholders are not giving them the proper procedures. For instance, the last meeting they had there was EPA meeting, and they came with an assessment report, and the youth wants to get copy of that report and be informed accordingly. You can't come and bring an assessment report, and maybe you come there, there's the air quality when you're leaving, at least it's for 50 years. So when you're leaving, and then we know that this is the air quality you came to meet, and so when you're leaving, you're giving us exactly the same quality. And then lithium mining comes with explosions and all that. And there's actually a quarry site close by, and you can see the reflection of that work there. Most of their buildings are cracked and all that. And some of them also be resettled. So it's a mixed bag of concern. For them, it's not worth it, and the chiefs are not even coming forth with any better information. And so that's it. If they come clean, if they know, okay, at the end of the day, you are coming with you're giving employment to, let's say, 60% of indigents here. It makes sense, but don't be bringing people out of the town, because it's close to them. So if you are bringing any development, you should use them for that development. You can't be bringing people from Accra and say it's only for qualification, jobs and all that. There are hands that you can use, and don't bring their hands out of their jurisdiction. You should employ them, then give them jobs. Employment should come from there. Don't be taking people from elsewhere and bring them. So it's a mixed bag of concerns. For them, they're not ready for it. Government should really come clean, take them through all the procedures, assessment reports. We have copies. Let's know the details of it. All the meetings have been, it has ended inconclusively. Like they all come out. For instance, the last meeting, there's one youth secretary where I spoke to yesterday, and he's like, they'll mind him is angry with him because he came up with some concerns, and it's not really making sense if you're asking me. Why would you be angry with a youth who is demanding questions from you or mind him? I don't know. So it's a war between him and the chief, because as a chief, you are supposed to convince your subordinates or whatever that, oh, there's this good news coming in, but don't really have a confusion with it because the person is demanding certain things from you. At the end of the day, it makes it look fishy that, okay, your hands are tied because maybe you've gotten something. That's it. And for them, that is largely what it is. Like the chiefs have been, they've taken something, and so they're just imposing it on them head of and it's not making sense. And last week, one person died. A worker died on site. He stays at Softbone. His 1 week will be this very Saturday. Right. And that issue has really been covered. It's not really out there. Because we are already, we are already in protest of the agreement, and then there's been a death. All these things, like, it's just a rumor. But I went to where, the guy stays, and his 1 week, banner has already been put up. So just come out. We've heard of death. What brought about the death? Let's know all these, because lithium, it's in high demand now. So let's know all these things. Don't keep this information away from us. That's it. So they want everything transparent.
I see.
They're not really protesting. The transparency is what they want. The transparency with us, and then we'll go with what you also,
And this call for transparency, I'm sure, has been backed by the proceeds from oil and gold and other minerals that have been mined.
They've been precedents, exactly. Comparing Obuasi and other mining communities, you can't see, what is it? If you're mining gold in a community, we expect that development to be massive development. So if they look at Obuasi and then they'll compare it to Awoya, maybe in the next 15 years, it will be the same, because trajectory, mining trajectory over the years is nothing to write on. So clearly, that's what they are looking at. That's what they are looking at. Unless this is going to be a different ballgame altogether, we come with different, mindset about mining. This will be maybe a game changer. So this is the different direction we are taking. So yeah, that's it. We're taking a different direction. So you can't compare maybe our old whatever efforts to make this or something. We are going to make different, directions and all that. This is what they use. I don't think they're asking for too much, honestly, but this is what it is. This is what they are demanding. So, like you said, there will be some sort of progress because the agreement has been, after, two attempts, has been laid now. So, at least some progress will be made. And my concern is that H121 is a material that has been produced by AI. In the next, let's say 8 years, its demand will be higher. And then it's also used for the production of batteries, like the same way as lithium. So, for me, we might be having all these confusion, but we are also in a ticking time bomb. By the time we say Jack, then maybe the price for lithium would have gone down because the H121, it's in high demand and it's doing equally better than lithium. That's what research has proven, that it's in competition with lithium. So it's either we do it now, get it right, do it now, or we're losing the economic benefits in ensuing years, honestly.
George Quaining, thank you very much indeed for your time. Are you staying over for the 1 week observance or obsequies of the gentleman who died?
I'll be coming to Accra on what's the name, on Friday. But I was speaking to the uncle today. They gave me today to talk to them. So I'll be coming back to Accra on Friday.
And what's their mood yesterday when you spoke with them?
It's a sad one. So when I went there, they were actually clearing I think it's how do you call this? It's more like a park. So yesterday they were just clearing, the boys there were clearing the area for the 1 week. And it's a sad one because he's been a good friend. They told me he's been a good friend. And he doesn't even talk too much. So you see him, he goes to sites. Where you have to sort on is, let's say, 15 minutes drive. So from work, he comes home and all that. So it's a sad day for them, especially a sad mood here. And actually, he's related to the Odikro of Salt Pond, so you can imagine. So why is it the Odikro? Why is it the Odikro? And then one more also told me that said that the forest where they're going to do the mining is a forest. So spiritually, you need to consult the gods and everything. So she feels it's spiritual. There's some spiritual connotation, but how to that is I can't tell. But why is it the Ojiko of Soframs? Why him and not any other worker who's not related to any oil, anything? So that's it. It's the best back of concerns here, Johnny.
I see. Thank you very much. George Quaining is our correspondent, and he's at the center of the controversy. Helen, George is there. The people say no. I think they're siding with the minority, but something must give, as is always said. Will government back down? Do you get a sense that the government will back down? Because it looks like this is very important to and for government. But are we looking at the bigger conversation and knowing that in the central region has suffered the Apiati, explosion that we have not wrapped our hands around it. Already one person has died, right? We're looking at what happened in the Volta region. It looks like we always leave something undone and then we move on to the next thing, because we're looking for something to dig out and then we sell it cheap,
Exactly.
And it's always been that the sentiment around these things.
As you said, sell it cheap. And like Kamla says, in the absence of this bill that is to be laid, we don't have the details. So we can't say what's in there and what isn't in there. But at least when we broaden the conversation, we know that for many years, especially on the African continent, nations that are resource rich, mineral rich, don't look or appear to be countries that are resource rich or mineral rich. And this is because of the kinds of negotiations that various governments enter into with those that come and mine these resources. So let's say the West. Now, according to the Natural Resource Governance Institute, resource-rich African countries often receive less than 40% of the total value of the resources extracted from their lands. Less than 40%. In fact, in some cases, mining companies can take up to 70 to 90% of the revenue, leaving the host country with such a small share. So that if there are calls for us to all have a look, like Komla says, let's peruse,
right,
so that we can see this time around, are we now setting a better precedent that gives us way more bang for our buck? Are we going to get a bigger share? I think that's something that is important, because if you look at how long have we been mining gold for on the Gold Coast? How long? And when you juxtapose that against our human development, our issues, clearly it doesn't seem as though it's making the kind of we're not getting much out of it. So I think calls for us to slow down are in the right vein. What if we make this deal one of the best across the continent? We're getting more than 40% percent share, as is the average. If we can do above that, I'm sure that will really make us the shining star of Africa. But to rush like we usually do and not get the benefit, and also the benefit to the indigenous people, like George was saying, the people there also look at other mining communities and what has been the benefit to them, having their lands, plundered, water bodies sometimes destroyed. What have they gotten from that? So I don't know whether we should be rushing at all. The lithium, I don't believe it can evaporate unless the scientists can tell us differently. It's going to be, we know where it is.
It's going to be there.
It's going to be there.
We know where it is.
We know where it is.
We know what to do with it.
We know what to do with it. And anybody that is concerned and is truly for the development of this nation will say, let's take our time. Whichever government it is, if that's the reason that we are in a rush, let me put it out there bluntly. Whichever government that it is should be more concerned, or we should be more concerned of the value of what we get from this agreement than when we actually put this through. And the rush to put it through and put our names or put our tags on it, time to start thinking Ghana and not give our stuff for cheap.
Well, this is lithium sources and their current use. This was an original paper authored in 2022, volume 38, and some very, very interesting, God Podaka Surwami, his the Mineral Resources Management 2022 38-1. Now, the topic will look at research on mineral raw materials markets, optimization of the resources and reserve management, effective mineral deposits exploration, accompanying minerals utilization, mineral policy, preparation and processing of mineral raw materials, economics of mineral industries, rational use of mineral raw materials, utilization of recycled mineral raw materials, and substitute. That was what the research or the paper focused on. We'll just read the abstract and then we'll wrap up. It says the lithium market has experienced an unprecedented boom in recent years, like a golden age, and is one of the fastest growing raw material markets in the world. The fast growing demand for lithium is mainly related to the increase in the production of lithium-ion batteries used in electric or hybrid vehicles and portable electronic equipment, and to a lesser extent in other strategic fields, military, nuclear technologies, etc. This was reflected in a significant change in the structure of consumption, an increase in international trade, and in the price of lithium raw materials. Moreover, in 2018, lithium was listed as a critical element for the national security and economy of the United States, and in 2020, it was also listed as a critical raw material for the European Union economy. Big deal. It's also a time of increased exploration for new deposits, as well as mining processes and recycling. As a result, global lithium reserves have doubled in the last 6 years. All this prompted the authors to prepare an article in which the sources of lithium materials and their sources, their resources, the basic factors determining the economic situation on the market, their prices, and the possibilities of recycling and substitution are presented and assessed. Attention is also paid to the role of companies operating in Poland. That's one of the sources, as significant partners on the European market of lithium-ion batteries. Lithium oxide and hydroxide and lithium carbonate are the main lithium raw materials used in Poland. In the absence of the country having its own deposit, they are imported. And the main suppliers are Chile, Western Europe countries, and Russia. So these are the countries we are going up against.
Up against, right.
All right, Chile, Western European countries, and Russia. And they are making money out of it, right? A lot of money out of it.
Yeah.
So we can't afford to sell ours cheap. We can't. We cannot afford to say, cheap. We can't do that.
Absolutely.
Our leaders owe us better. They need to do better for us. When we return from the break, did you know that Monday, the 22nd of July, fuel prices, spare parts prices, and the harsh economic conditions will make you pay more for transport fares? Did you know that?
Why are you doing this?
I'm telling you because the Transport Operators Association of Ghana, they have announced that beginning Monday, 15% of what you used to pay is what you're going to pay now, beginning Monday. So we'll do a calculation. If you used to pay 8 cedis, right, in and 8 cedis out, we'll add 30% to it because 15 in, 15 out. How much would that be? You do the calculation. And the way to calculate 15%, for those of you who have forgotten your math, is 15 divided by 100 times the amount you pay. 15 divided by 100 times the amount you pay. So you can do the calculation now so you don't go and fight a driver's mate or what do you call it, a trotro driver. But we'll see you after the break.
Rise and shine, it's another day to stay on point. Toast is Friday, it's still on